Hey, welcome to the WTF Podcast. My name is Molly Smith, and I am on a mission to equip 1 million people with the tools to recognize when they're in the funk and, more importantly, how to pivot out of it. By tuning in today, you have joined me on that mission, and I am super grateful you are here. My guest today knows what it's like to have a plan, follow the rules, and still end up wondering, why isn't this working? She's smart, driven, and deeply passionate about helping women reconnect with their bodies. But that wisdom did not come from a textbook, friends. It came from living through her own version of the funk, one filled with waiting, questioning, and learning to surrender when control wasn't an option. Becky Ackerman is a fertility coach who helps high achieving women quiet their self doubt, reduce stress, and approach fertility with compassion. If you have ever clung tightly to a plan that just wouldn't bend, or wonder what might happen if you finally loosened your grip, this episode is for you. Please join me in welcoming Becky Ackerman to the WTF Podcast. Hey, Becky, how are you?
I'm good, Molly. How are you?
I'm good, good. I'm so glad that we are talking about this issue because I know that there are so many couples out there, and I say couples, intentionally, that are dealing with fertility issues, both primary and secondary fertility issues. And I think your story is going to help a lot of people. So tell us a little bit about your journey and your story and the funk that you landed in.
Sure. So I'll do this as quickly as I can. We started out thinking we'd have no trouble, just like nobody goes into this saying,
Yeah.
there's going to be problems.
Yeah.
And at close to a year, I still wasn't pregnant. And, you start to wonder what's going on.
Yeah.
So the doctor did some tests, mostly okay. Maybe one of my fallopian tubes was blocked, but she wasn't interested in exploring that any further. Just keep trying. A few months later, she said, I'm done with you. I don't want to see you again until you're pregnant. Here's a fertility specialist. Go talk to her.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. She like just kind of washed her hands.
Me. Like, I'm done. Like, literally, I'm done with you. Come back when you're pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. She never saw me again.
Yeah.
So I went to see this fertility doctor who presented me in the waiting room with a packet of parenting magazines and menopause magazines. So after one appointment, I also never saw her again.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Everybody who's gone through this has wild stories like that.
I bet.
So went to see another doctor who was not a fertility specialist, but a super nice guy. And he was like, okay, well, let's try some medications. So we did some Clomid cycles and some letrozole cycles, but it wasn't his thing. He wasn't monitoring it. Nothing was happening. We had no idea why. And then he gave me somebody else's name and said, go see him. Yeah. So went to see him. He reran all the tests. At this point, we're at about the 3-year mark. And
you've been trying for 3 years?
It had been about 3 years by the time we got to this point. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And he said, okay, yes, you have definitely a blocked fallopian tube. And yes, we have to figure out what the situation is because it won't work otherwise.
Yeah.
So we went in, did surgery, found out I had endometriosis, which I'd never had any symptoms of.
Oh my goodness.
So for anybody who's wondering, yes, you can have endo and not know about it. It's really a thing. He cleaned that all out. One of my fallopian tubes was totally filled with fluid and he wanted to take it out. And I had told my husband nothing comes out. So my husband said, nope, you can't take it out. Nothing comes out. Okay. So he pinned it open and said, this is a temporary fix, but go try while it's still open. So we went, tried for a couple months, came back. He said, all right, let's try some IUI. Did one round of IUI where I ovulated before the trigger shot. So nothing doing. And then in the middle of the next one, he found that my tube had filled up again. So had to go back for a second surgery, have the tube removed, at which point.
Oh, they did remove the tube. They did end up removing the tube.
Yep.
Okay, so you have one working fallopian tube.
One working fallopian tube. And
okay.
So in the recovery room, after that surgery, he said to me, so there is no longer a problem. Everything mechanical and physical has been fixed, but because you only have one tube, you will probably have a difficult time getting pregnant on your own. Okay. So I outwardly rejected that because I said, well, we're still going to go try on our own. A few years later, I realized that while like my conscious mind had said no, my subconscious was like, yeah, going to be really hard, but we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
So we went off for another few months, tried on our own, nothing, came back for a few more rounds of IUI that were all just entirely worthless, like no additional follicles. We never made it actually to insemination for a single round of IUI
Oh my
because there was
goodness.
always something that went wrong.
Okay.
So we were just at the point where he was starting to push us toward IVF when we found out we were moving. Um, and
Okay.
I said, okay, this is perfect. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to be done for now. And so 6 months went by. We had a nice, rest of the time where we were, moved, got a little bit settled. And I said, okay, I'm coming back now, but differently. I'm not interested in this moment in a fertility clinic. And I'm going to try acupuncture. And I ended up trying hypnosis.
Okay, so
And
very unconventional methods. I mean, you've tried the IUI, the Clomid, all of the things,
all the
didn't want to
things.
go to IVF and decided I'm going to go a holistic route.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did acupuncture and sorry, what was the other one you did?
Hypnosis.
Hypnosis? Oh my gosh. Okay, tell
Yeah.
me, tell me, tell me, tell me.
So it was amazing. I mean, the first thing that I realized, which these things about yourselves, but there are sort of these
Yeah.
moments where a light gets shined on it. I am a very high stress human. I It's always about working harder and pushing harder and doing all the things and
Mhm.
doing all the things well and correctly. And pressure just builds and builds and builds. So both of those practices, both um, acupuncture, if you've never had acupuncture, I'll just say they put the needles in and then they leave you
Yes.
for 15,
It's like
20 minutes.
like it's almost like a meditative, like you can close your eyes and
It's
all of that, right? Yeah.
totally. If you
Yeah.
told me that the needles do nothing, but it's simply the practice of lying there still for 20 minutes, I would buy into that too.
Yes. Right.
Um, and the same with hypnosis and guided meditation. It was a combination of both things. I find that to be incredibly relaxing. And after 6 months of this, I was finally pregnant with my first child. So from coming off birth control to birth of first child was exactly 7 years, like to the
Oh,
month. Um,
wow.
yeah.
So you in that process became more mindful?
I became more mindful. I became aware of a lot of things. I became aware, for example, of the fact that the doctor's statement had really stuck with me. Like that was something that we totally uncovered.
Yeah.
I became aware of a few fears that I had. And I'll tell you just very honestly, I was a personal trainer. I had a really big fear of my body changing.
Changing.
And it sounds shallow and stupid, but it's incredibly
Oh,
common
yeah.
and it makes a difference. It makes a difference. And it's also for anybody else who's wondering, it's a totally valid fear.
Absolutely it is. Your
Totally
body
valid.
changes when you're
Your body
pregnant. There's no
changes. Your
question.
body absolutely changes.
So did that come up in hypnosis? Like that
Yes.
story? Okay, so was that because did you have a conscious awareness of that story
I
or
had a
was it
conscious
kind of
awareness. I had a conscious awareness of the fear, but not an awareness of the fact that it would have an influence on what my body was willing to do for me.
yes. Okay. So were you able
For sure.
to maybe surface and release that particular story?
I don't know with that one so much if I was able to release it, but I was able to just sort of say, okay, well, there it is.
It
Like
is. Okay.
it
It is what
is.
it is.
It is,
Yeah.
and there it is, and okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So 7 years to the day, baby number one is born,
Baby
correct?
number one is born. So
That's
great,
amazing.
wonderful.
Yeah.
A little more than a year later, we decided, okay, let's try for baby number two. And so we started, I got pregnant immediately, and then I miscarried immediately.
Oh,
It wasn't, for me, it wasn't a big deal. And I thought to myself, well, if I got pregnant so quickly this time, surely I'll get pregnant it'll happen again.
Now, let me ask you, with getting
Mhm.
pregnant with baby number two, did you use hypnosis and acupuncture, or did you use some of
So
those mindfulness techniques that you learned?
So I was doing acupuncture
Okay.
at the beginning. Like when I got pregnant, I was doing acupuncture. And
Hmm.
then I kept going for a period of time after I miscarried while we were continuing. And then it got to a point where I was still not pregnant and I was like, I feel at this point like I'm wasting my time and my money. And in the end, 14 months went by and I was still not pregnant.
Okay.
And, went back to my doctor. She ran all my labs. Everything still looked fine. And one day, we talked about this a little bit. I wish I could remember sort of what the
Sure.
impetus for this memory was,
Yeah.
but it just clicked that, oh, why are you not meditating? And why are you not doing any of the visualizations? Like none of that was happening. And so I started, and the next cycle, I was pregnant. And that was my second baby. And that was the moment where the light bulb flipped on. And
Sure.
I was like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
There's another piece to this. It's not just physical.
No, there's so much energetics and subconscious programming and all of those things
Yeah.
that impact us physically. So
Yes.
I absolutely love where this is going. Okay, so that's baby number two,
So that's baby
right?
number two. And
Okay,
so she was born, and then I don't know, a year and a half after she was born, I was like, okay, well, let's try for baby number three. Okay, so this time I was aware. And so I started meditating before we were actually ready to try. And I got pregnant first cycle
right away.
right away. Yes.
Okay, that's so
Lesson learned,
fascinating.
lesson applied.
Less right. And, sometimes I certainly feel this. I'm type A, outgoing, ambitious person. And I feel like sometimes I have to learn lessons like multiple times. Like, please hit me over the head with a 2x4. Oh, yes, I'll finally get it like the third or fourth time. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I got it. Thank you. And
Yeah.
so forth.
Yeah.
Okay, so help me understand. So, obviously, this experience birthed something in you, pun intended, about helping others who have been in the same position. And so, talk to me a little bit about your coaching practice and what you've been able to do in working with women who have been dealing with fertility issues.
So I suppose to answer that question, I've done a lot of different things depending on the women, but the big thing that I like to focus on is relaxation. And I know just relax is like a huge buzzword when it comes to
Sure.
fertility. Nobody likes to hear it, but managing stress and bringing that stress level down, because for so many of us, I think, especially as women, we have been taught that you have to work hard and you have to study hard and you have to try hard and everything has to be hard to get
Yes.
to where you want to go. And we do that really, really well.
Yes.
But nobody ever talks to us about how to back off and when you need to back off and how you do that and what it looks like and what it should feel like. And so that's something that I help a lot of women with is let's spend a little bit of time and go inside and
Yeah.
see what's happening in there. Let's figure out things that you can do on your own when you're starting to feel your stress level creep up.
Right.
Um,
I
how to
love
sort of
that.
reclaim your journey, kind of.
Yes. And I'll tell you, I think building some of those muscles around mindfulness, meditation, and just being without needing to, get all of the things done and keep everything balanced. That has been such a game changer in my life over the last year. And when I find myself spinning out, coming back to those very grounded practices like meditation and journaling and just spending some time like not consuming anything and
Right.
just being really gets me centered,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And so the
Yeah.
one thing I just want to say, just to clarify for anybody who's
Yeah.
listening and hears us say meditation and goes, meditation, I hate it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be meditation. It could be like doing a jigsaw puzzle or working in a coloring book or,
Yeah.
just anything that is, like you said, not really consuming and that kind of gets you
Yes.
into yourself.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Okay. So if there are women or couples that are listening to this episode and they are in the funk of infertility, outside of doing the puzzle or the meditation or the journaling or whatever, what advice would you give them, especially those who are maybe contemplating IVF or they've been through IVF with no success? What advice would you give them so that they can begin that pivot out of the funk?
Yeah. So I would suggest, first of all, that they find a support system of
Yeah.
some sort. For some people, family is a great support and friends are a great support. But in other cases, sometimes your partner just can't talk about it with you anymore because we often have differing thresholds, or your
Right.
mom keeps saying the wrong thing, or your best friend just had a baby, you know? So your
Yeah.
normal support system isn't always the right one. So
Right.
it's finding a support group, or maybe the woman at work who did IVF 2 years ago, and you're not really great friends, but she's a good person for you to talk to about this, or finding a coach or a therapist or something like that. Get your
Yeah.
support in place is the very first thing I would say.
Yeah.
And then self-care, focusing on self-care and the things that make you feel good and feel happy
Oh,
right now, even as you're struggling to fit this last piece into your puzzle, if you will.
yeah.
I think a lot of times the self-care is another thing that we kind of drop.
Oh, yeah. It's on the back burner.
It's on the back burner, and it really
Yeah.
does make such a difference. If you feel good, everything kind of changes. Whether you end up getting pregnant or not, your outlook on everything around you
Yeah.
shifts.
Yeah. I love that. What a powerful story, number one. And I love that you leaned into some alternative things that, one, do not cost a gazillion dollars. And especially just with the
Right.
increasing costs of healthcare and all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
This is what you're doing is absolutely beautiful. And I will include Becky's information in the show notes so that you can reach out to her. If this episode has impacted you, or you know somebody who is struggling with infertility or going through that journey, please share this episode. My goodness, wouldn't they be so encouraged by Becky's story and some of the work that she's doing and how she found some breakthrough? So please, 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 please share it. Help me reach that million people that I am looking to reach with helping them pivot out of the funk. You guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.